Hello there. Welcome to the Word Cafe podcast. This podcast has been designed with created content that centers on the power of words. Can we really do anything without speaking? Can we really do anything without the agency of words? Yes, that is what this podcast is all about. And I am your host, Amakri Isowe, your neighborhood word trader. I believe in the power of words, for it is the unit of creation. I trade in words to profit my world. Hello there. How are we all doing? Yes, I'm going to begin with that line again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything. How are you all doing? Amazing. I'm super excited coming to this space again. You know how we say it on the show. This is the space where we come in to lean on one that others experience to forge a positive path. How are you? I'm good where I am. It's been a little bit sunny, humid and all of that. Yes. So what do we have today? Yes, you're seeing it on the screen. Her love for oil and gas, energy hero. I describe her. I have a wonderful personality on the show today. Yes, I tried calling her name. I said, okay, what's your name? And she said, well, you have to scratch your throat somehow to pronounce my name. Her name is Carol Nakel. I wish I tried. I think when she comes on, she will tell us more. And we'll bring her in a super wonderful personality. I'll allow her to do all the intros. She loves energy, and she is a hero within that space. Where is she? Who am I talking about now? And there she is. Hello, Carol.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So let's begin with that wonderful name so that my audience will appreciate calling you.
My surname is partly beautiful because it's part of who I am, and partly, yes, I think, an obstacle for people to recognize my name because the pronunciation is pretty Arabic. You have to be an Arabic speaker to be able to pronounce it properly. And it actually means palm tree. The word is nakhli. That's why I said, imagine that you have a sore throat and then you need to itch your throat, so it goes like so that's the sound. KH in Arabic is kh. So my surname is Nakhli.
Nakhli, beautiful. And you said it's a palm tree. And I think the description of that name, as in the palm tree, it survives in every weather, every terrain, and everything about the palm tree is productive. It is economically viable and all that. Beautiful.
I never thought about it this way, but I know one thing, and I definitely like warm weather more than cold weather. Even though I've been living in the UK since 98, I still worship the sun. So I'm one of those sun worshippers. And but I never thought about the nakhle, the palm tree, surviving in various conditions, but they are definitely survivals.
Yes. When you look at the palm tree in depth, way back from school, when we studied economic, what do you call it now? Plants or products and all that. You look at the palm tree, the leaf, the fruit, the stem, the root, somehow finds its way into every, strata of the economy, if you look at that. So maybe you go back and look at, dig deep a little. I think that's why you are strategic in what you do. Well, that's by the way. So let us get to meet this wonderful individual who loves oil and gas, who loves energy, and is thriving in that space. Who is Dr. Carol Nakhli?
You made me laugh when you said I love oil and gas. Actually, I don't have a particular love for any fuel. It's not like I drink oil and gas the first thing in the morning, but I love the subject. I love energy because energy, we cannot live without energy. We need energy to meet our very basic needs wherever we are around the world. So that's why I'm so passionate about this subject. But just to give you a bit of background very briefly about myself, I'm originally from Lebanon, and I was born, I grew up during the civil war. For those of you who are aware of the very lengthy and brutal civil war that Lebanon went through. And I think growing up in that environment has definitely shaped who I am. And it's also partly why I am so passionate about energy, because here I am, I live in a rich country, well-developed economy, where we never have to worry about having power cuts, unless, of course, you have a problem with your generator. But really, I've been here since 98. I never recall having a power cut. You don't have to worry about your hot water to take a shower. So, when you have to go to work, you wake up within 20 minutes, well, hot water is there, shower, get ready, dry your hair, and then move on. This doesn't happen in an energy poor country. So during the Civil War, we didn't really have access to electricity. I grew up studying at the candlelight, and I remember my favorite activity at that time was making shapes from the wax of the candles. We didn't have clean water, and taking a shower was a big thing because we wouldn't do it regularly. So we do it once a week or even once every couple of weeks. And that was a major undertaking to heat the water, get ready. And then, so I had all this background, and then coming to the UK and see the other side of the world, how they live, it was, of course, an eye-opener. And I wanted to learn more about how we make access to energy affordable and reliable to all the people around the world. And then it occurred to me that actually, when you are in a rich world, you don't really understand what it means to be energy poor. You don't really understand what it means to be deprived of this very basic, important aspect of a human being. And that also got me even more involved in this sector. When I talk about energy security, when I talk about oil and gas, it's not that because I'm in love with oil and gas. Actually, of course, I would love to save the planet and save the climate, but I'm also conscious about the need for realism in a very polarized debate. There are lots of people around the world, in developing countries around the world, in sub-Saharan Africa, for example, when I've been to the poorest countries in sub-Saharan Africa, they need to meet their basic need. They need affordable energy and reliable energy. And at the moment, green energy alone cannot give them that. And we should stop preaching those countries and telling them what to do. We should guide them and work with them hand in hand. So this is, in a nutshell, what shaped my career in the field of energy and how I would like to position myself in the global debate on energy, on climate change, on energy security, and all sorts of energy, not just oil and gas. But I definitely love the subject. I talk about it from morning to evening, nonstop, and I don't get bored from it. And I don't see myself retiring anytime soon.
The energy with which you deliver this clearly shows she's positioned herself on this subject matter and to defend it anywhere. Considering you have tasted the two worlds, if I must use that now, coming from that region where energy, sustainability is a big challenge, and now on the other side where you turn on the faucet, something like that, and the energy is flowing and all of that. Very good. Let me not get you started on that yet, because we're going to come to that. Now, I was going through your profile and I saw, clearly you studied with Stanford University, and you studied there, and all of a sudden, I wouldn't say all of a sudden, and now you are also lecturing there. Clearly, this individual is in love with, books and reading and all of that. Can you share a little bit with us your story within Stanford as a student and now as a lecturer or a guest
Surrey
lecturer?
University. Yeah. So
Okay.
when I came to the UK, I came to the University of Surrey to do my master's degree. So I did my first degree in Lebanon in economic science, and it was in a French system. So it was a local university that follows the French system, because I'm originally French educated. And I could barely speak English. I knew the basic grammar. We had 1 hour per week. But I wanted to try something different, because all my classmates who traveled abroad, they selected France. And I felt I wanted to experience something different, something more challenging. My friends sometimes call me a salmon, because a salmon swims against the current. So I came to the UK originally for 1 year to do a master's degree in finance. And back at school at the university in Lebanon, I used to be easily among the top students. When I came to the UK on my first assignment, I had the lowest grade. That was a big shock to my system. And then it turned out that actually I had to adapt to the English educational system, which was very, very different from what I learned in all my previous years in education. So that I found more exciting, and I avoided mingling with people who spoke Arabic because I had to improve my English. I bought back then a TV for £30, which was a big sum for a student, because it had the teletext, so you could hear and read at the
And
same
you read.
time. And that's how I improved my English, exactly, to learn how to pronounce and also see how the word is written. And after
Mm.
that, I passed and everything was fine. I thought, all right. And then back then I was still, we were talking about, I was maybe 20, 21 years old, and I felt I could do more because I loved the English system so much, and the whole life in the UK was very different. And I decided to pursue a PhD. Back then, they thought I was too young for the PhD. I didn't have the background energy. So I did one extra year called MPhil, which exposed me to energy subjects. And then I transferred to a PhD. And I graduated, I think I was 26 years old, with a PhD in energy economics. Now, why Surrey? Surrey, it was the only university in the UK that gave a degree in energy economics. So you do have energy-related subjects at other universities, but not as energy economics. And during my PhD, I did two things. First of all, as part of your PhD, you are offered some tutoring. So I started giving some very simple lectures. But at the same time, I needed two things. I needed the money, because my dad said, okay, I cannot sponsor you for a PhD. You'll have to sponsor it yourself. And I did not have the time to apply for a scholarship. And so I needed the money. And then I needed to improve my English. So I tried to work at McDonald's. I barely survived there. I knew it was not my place. Maybe I worked 1 or 2 days and I resigned. I worked in one store for selling beauty products. I worked for 1 month, made £400, which was pretty good, but also did not work for me. I actually worked as a belly dancing teacher, which I loved. But again, that kept me fit, but I did not, and maybe it helped me with the money, but it did not help me with the English that much, until I found a part-time teaching job in London. So I was based in Guildford. And I remember taking the first student who failed his previous exams. And when I told him, he passed with a B. That captured the attention of the director there. And then they started giving me more private students, then more classes. And it all built up over the years when I was doing my PhD, that even I ended up having, I taught the late former president of Zambia, I taught him basic economics. So really, teaching then became part of my day-to-day life. And I established great relationship with my students, some of whom I'm still on very good terms even today. And I realized that I still love teaching. It's one of the things I enjoy doing when you go to the university. And so with Sari, I continue teaching over the years, and I have one module which I've been teaching now for many, many years. Of course, the content changes over the years, but going there, looking at the student, interacting with them, they are a completely different audience from when you go to a conference. They keep you on your toes. They have a completely different perspective, fresh perspective, and teaching keeps you grounded. And there's nothing more rewarding than when you receive an email from a student telling you how grateful they were for all the knowledge that you have transferred to them. And I don't see myself stopping teaching. So in all my previous jobs, the full-time jobs, I always had one condition, that I wanted to maintain my teaching, even if it was a few hours on a Friday. So it's an interesting journey, and I love to see my students succeeding later on and contact me and telling me, we became this, we became that. I just love it.
Amazing. You have a very unique story. When you said they describe you, your friends call you the salmon. You swim against, because the salmon swims against the current. And it's like, that's a light bulb moment, because that's why salmon, if you go to the market, you're looking for fish to buy, and you point at the salmon, it's pretty expensive because they swim against the current. They build this unique ability and what have you. And that's what you've done. And you've done so many things. And even within that, you are still swimming against the current, proving a lot of people wrong, and even like taking your place within that space. Now, I see you were awarded in 2021, correct me if I'm wrong, as the award-winning CEO and founder of Crystal Energy. How did you go about founding, I beg your pardon, that company, the Crystal Energy?
It all goes back to 2012. Back then I was working, so I had a few years in the industry. I worked before in academia, especially parliamentary advisor here in the UK Parliament. I worked with international organizations, IMF, World Bank, Commonwealth Secretariat, and ENI and Statoil, which is today Equinor. But then I felt that I tried all this and they were all amazing. I learned in all the jobs I took, but they did not give me the satisfying answer to what I want my career to be, what suits my personality most. I mean, I wouldn't take, if I send my CV, I always tell my friends, if I send my CV to any company, just to HR, for a job, one job advertised, I don't think I'm going to tick many of the boxes because I built my career differently from, let's say, this chronological development. I was riding several horses at the same time, and that's how I like it. And I also like to work with a wide range of stakeholders. I didn't want to work only for companies. I didn't want to work only for academia. I didn't want to work only for government. I wanted to bring these players together. And the only way I could do that was by setting up my own company. And I like the challenge because I never tried. I hear of people having their own business, but I didn't know what that entails. So until I tried it myself. And the good news is that as soon as I started the company, we had a contract. Of course, it was a one-woman show at the beginning, and I had the support of some friends. And gradually, actually for 2 years, I didn't tell many people I had a company because I was worried it might fail. And I thought, okay, if it fails, then fine, nobody will know about it. They'll know that I was, still teaching at the university. But then gradually I started to build that confidence that it wasn't something to be ashamed of, especially that I was doing something I truly enjoyed. It can be a roller coaster, but I love this roller coaster. I love the flexibility that gave me. I love the fact that I could go on TV, to conferences, and saying what I believed in without having a communication department telling me you can say this, you cannot say that, which is of course very common when you work for a well-established big organization. So all that for me, even though the money was less than when you are in an established full-time job, but for me, the flexibility and the challenge of setting up something from scratch and building a global name, being referred to globally, international media, quoted in international media, and starting from really nothing, not even, zero capital, just registered the company and found an accountant. That is by itself something that I will always remember with pride. I don't care how much money, somebody makes. What makes you more fulfilled, at least for me, is to feel that I have achieved something that I can easily say I did it myself, nobody gave it to me, and it's priceless. That's the key.
Amazing. Now, I love the way you look at life and the world, the outlook. You're not putting before you like money, but rather value. You want to create value. You want to leave, should I say, a legacy, something better. I met this thing, I want to make it better. Not necessarily I want to amass wealth and all of that. Beautiful. Now, to the subject that you are always enthralled with, as in when you talk about it, your eyes come alive, the energy, oil and gas. Recently I've been following Alex Epstein. I think you should know him, his thoughts on the fossil future, fossil energy and all that. We've been having a lot of discourse going back and forth. The developing world grappling with it, the quote unquote developed world trying to fly the kite of green energy and all that. How do we balance this discourse? Because energy is important to our survival.
Absolutely. We need energy to survive. And not only that, we need energy, and cheap energy, to lift the millions and billions of people out of poverty around the world. It's a very simple equation. If you want people to become more productive, you give them access to energy. So let's keep it very simple. You cannot work, let's say, after sunset if you don't have energy. You cannot keep your factories running if you don't have electricity. So of course, it's a very basic, simple relationship between energy consumption and economic growth and productivity. Now, where does this energy come from? At the moment, more than 82% of the world energy mix comes from oil, coal, and gas. And this is not good from a climate perspective. So the advocate of green energy say we need to tilt the equation and make the majority of our energy mix coming from renewable energy such as solar and wind, hydropower, and green energy like renewable energy. But we have to be realistic. So this is an aim that we are all aspiring for. Can it happen overnight? Absolutely not. Is it going to happen in the next few years? Definitely not. These things take time to happen. You have to change not only mindset, you don't have to change just behavior. You have to change regulations, policies, infrastructure, you name it. So we cannot create this kind of giant leap. Even the rich countries are struggling with the progress. You cannot just go and tell the poorer countries, those who don't have a car to start with, who never owned a car, or those who don't have access to electricity, to stop consuming or reduce their energy consumption to save the planet, especially when their contribution to climate change is really minimal compared to what we see from the industrialized countries. Of course, they should all work together, but we should bring a degree of realism to this polarized debate and unrealistic debate. And that's why I tell my friends here in the UK, I tell them, don't say, Sierra Leone, just because you visited Freetown on a holiday or 2 weeks. Go and live there for a few months, just like the locals, to get a flavor of the struggle these people go through day to day. Don't tell me you went on a safari to, some of the countries in Africa, and therefore you know the country. Go and live there, and then you appreciate. But that said, it's not just about poor and rich. I see protesters here in the UK. I mean, the way they are stopping day-to-day normal activity to convey a message, no matter how noble the message is, this is going to backfire. People are getting frustrated because there are people who want to get to work, people who want to take their children to schools. Last year, one of the students at the university where I was speaking as a guest of honor at a graduation missed his graduation because of the traffic caused by just stop oil. Now, this is not good. This is not how we convince people to change behavior. You lead by example, but it's important to have an open dialogue and a rational dialogue. There's a lot of crazy things happening on the climate change agenda. It's actually going to slow down the energy transition, not accelerate it.
Now, I quite appreciate your submission here with respect to, somebody telling me, maybe because he visited once or twice a country in Africa, and you think you have an understanding of that country, maybe in sub-Sahara or the North or, Southern Africa. You don't. When you live there, you come to see the challenges they face with respect to energy, access to energy and all of that. I really love that submission. Now, again, we see a lot of people, go up, protest the stop oil thing and all that. And when you look at everything they are wearing from head to toe, is a byproduct of oil, even the stickers they are carrying and all of that. And it's like, do you really understand what you're doing? So I really appreciate that. But I want you to school my audience a little bit on this subject of energy, access to energy. And from your perspective, the best way to go about that, like you said, is not like the flip of your finger or you turn off a switch or something. It is a gradual process. Let's hear your thoughts on this.
I wish I can give you an answer in the short time that we have, because otherwise I would have saved the planet, let's put it that way. There is no silver bullet, no one solution. And this is a plain fact, because you're talking about a global problem, but completely different conditions, even here in Europe. Look at the EU. It's the most aggressive region when it comes to fighting climate change. They have the most ambitious targets and very ambitious policies, And on an aggregate level, the EU has a very diversified energy mix, which means that they have not only oil and gas and coal, but they also use lots of renewable, lots of nuclear energy. That is beautiful on a general picture. But when you look at individual countries, Poland an EU country, the share of coal, which is the most polluting fossil fuel in terms of greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide emissions, the share of coal in the electricity generation in Poland is higher than that in China. Now, of course, on absolute values, China is by far a bigger consumer. Just to give you an idea that even in the rich world, in the developed economies, they still they are struggling to achieve significant progress in that respect. What we can do, we have to work on many aspects, on the demand side, on the supply side. On the demand side, changing in behavior will happen gradually. Improvements in technology. I'm a strong believer in technological progress. I mean, look at us talking at each other, and we are in different countries. Technology,
Exactly.
We shouldn't underestimate the progress in technology, but you need an environment that enables that technology to flourish. And this is where you think about government policy. I've personally been living here in the UK since 98. I don't drive a car, partly because of climate concerns, but also partly because I can't imagine myself driving in these narrow roads next to these monstrous bus around. But that is perhaps my contribution. But at the same time, I look at my windows at home. Are they well insulated? During this the corona pandemic, I was stranded first in the UAE. I went for holidays and I got stuck there. Then we moved to Germany. And when we went to Germany was a very, very old house. The last time it was cleaned was 32 years ago. You would be sitting in the living room and the windows are so badly insulated, you would see the lamp moving because of the wind. So we really froze to death. But what I did, I just bought on Amazon these kind of things that you put around the window frame to insulate it. And that made a huge, huge difference to the heating in the house. Now, of course, these are very minor examples, but these are important examples on individual level. Am I going to save the planet because I don't own a car or I did the insulation of my old windows in Germany? Of course not. It makes me feel good, but it does not make a huge difference. The big difference would be when you have technological progress, especially when it comes to green energy, storage of energy, because when the sun is not shining, you cannot use solar power, except if you have some batteries, but even there you don't have long life for that. When the wind is not blowing, you cannot really use wind power. So until that happens, until that technology becomes more established, more proven, more commercial, more widely used, we have to be realistic. We continue with oil and gas and to much less extent coal. We support investment in these areas, but more sustainably. We don't say we don't want oil and gas and then suffer from high prices as we saw last year, for example. So we should consciously say we need all the sources of energy that are out there, but we can produce them more sustainably. We can make the companies, for example, stop burning gas. In Iraq, in the Middle East, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they burn more gas, that's what we call gas flaring, than they consume locally. Imagine how much saving, how much. Nigeria is also big on gas flaring. That is a waste of an important resource, let alone it has a big environmental footprint. So before saying stop oil and gas, we should work on the areas where we can minimize the impact of oil and gas on the environment, until the technology for green energy is more usable, more proven. Then we can ditch oil and gas investment and all live happily after.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Carol. Thank you so much for this submission. The truth, I mean, just like you lay the cards out, it doesn't happen in one day. Like we'll say, Rome was not built in one day. It took a lot of years and what have you to come up with that empire and all of that. But I think we still need to have this conversation every now and then, like educating ourselves and all of that. Now, I know you're very busy, and you took out this time to do this with us on the show, and I want to say a very big thank you. I'm going to ask you this question with respect to the energy investment in Africa, which I want to believe you have, some knowledge of what is going on. Do you think we have enough investment now, to drive the conversation and at the same time to grow the energy mix in Africa? Do you think we have that now?
One thing that amazes me about Africa is how rich it is with all sorts of resources, particularly energy resources. And mind you, it's not only about oil or gas, you also have all sorts of metals and minerals which are important for the energy transition. So when you want to build solar panels or wind turbines or batteries for electric vehicles, you need lithium, cobalt, all sorts of metals and minerals. And Africa is extremely rich in those. So yes, there are some investment in Africa. Is it commensurate with its potential? Definitely not. I think Africa has much bigger potential than what we are seeing today. Now, why investment is not happening at the same scale? Of course, investment is happening, but I'm talking about the relative scale, especially when you take into consideration the potential of the continent. It's a combination of factors, but for me, from my experience, one of the main handicap has been the institutional framework, and in some countries, the stability, political stability. Political stability is not only about having a war or having some insurgents here and there, terrorist actions. It's also policy stability. Where governments can change their mind, suddenly. Because investors, after all, and I work for private investors, I am working, as a private company. Then when they look at where they put their capital, especially if you're talking about international capital, they are not focusing on Nigeria. They are not only focusing on, South Africa. They look at the globe and they look at where can they achieve the best rate of return on their investment. Where can they make most reward, not only for 1 year or two, for many years to come, because investment is about committing your capital today and you wait for the rewards to happen in the coming years. So it's a commitment of capital. And if they cannot secure their rate of return because of bad terms, bad contracts, with the government, or a government that changes its policies overnight. So you are an investor, you want to commit millions of dollars today, and you want to stay in that business for the next 10, 15, 20 years. But then you have a government that suddenly every year enact a new policy, then you say, no, hold on, the political risk is too high for me, I'd rather go elsewhere. So if African countries work on tackling the institutional framework, the policy issues, the regulations aspect, they give greater certainty for investors. I'm not saying, when I say that, sometimes people think I'm saying, oh, should governments offer low tax rates? No, the answer is not low tax rate. Actually, low tax rates are rarely stable and they can cause more problem. I say competitive tax rates, but at the same time, a robust institutional framework that give the investors the confidence to come and put money in your country and stay there for many years to come.
Beautiful. Thank you for this. I mean, you're not far from the truth. You're not far from the truth. I mean, laying this framework, and we see a bright future. We look forward to that picture you have painted now, that framework that will support the right investors and investment. Now, I'm going to ask you a personal question with respect to how you spend your time, how you unwind, how you build all of this energy. How do you do that? Because listening to you is like, the energy that flows from you is amazing. It's palpable. How do you do that?
Thank you. I'm glad you can feel it through virtually. Well, look, first of all, if I'm doing something I love, I don't think I will run out of energy, even though sometimes, physically, of course, you get tired. And my biggest challenge is the fact that I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she was born just 1 year before the pandemic hit. So she spent an important period of her life in lockdown. So all that is very demanding. Parenthood is very demanding, and it's I don't know how. I mean, I don't have the answer, but I do it naturally. I don't think too much about it, about balancing between motherhood and at the same time working on things I love and I'm passionate about. Because I came to the conclusion that if I just become a full-time mom, and there are lots of full-time moms out there who I respect a lot, including my mother, and starting with my mother. But I felt that, I would be ditching something I love very much, that is my work. The fact that I need to think, be challenged academically and intellectually. And I need that to be able to be maybe a better mom. And also I need to be a good mom, to be a better leader. So they complement each other, and that's how I see them. It is exhausting sometimes, especially when I have to travel, because I keep my trips short. And that I think the last time I had my 8 hours of sleep was before June 2018. So that was the last time I had my 8 hours of daily sleep. And I would love to regain that. But again,
Yeah,
I keep my eyes on the future. I say
the
it's
future.
just a temporary period
Hmm.
and then it will pass. So yes, today I'm working super hard because of my daughter in addition to my work. But I mean, it's a question of time before my daughter stops even calling me. So I would want her to call me like every day or every minute. So I just look at it in this way. I say it's just a phase. It's an investment, and my daughter's future and my sanity and in my work. And it's worth the effort. It's like studying at the university. You have many sleepless nights, but when you graduate, you forget about those sleepless nights.
Beautiful. You keep your eyes on the prize. You keep your eyes on the future. Just knowing that what you're doing,
Absolutely.
what is going on now is temporary and it's a phase. It will pass, and you will regain that balance. I love the way you submitted that. Thank you so much, Dr. Carol. Guys, we have been discussing with Dr. Carol. You will agree with me. Her energy is, off the chart. The way she delivers and everything. We're so glad she took out this time to come do this with us. Before I let you go, what's that word you have for young millennials, young minds out there, who are also yearning to be in that space where you are? To grow, to build resilience and all of that. What do you have to share with them?
Follow your own passion and don't let people impact you negatively. Lots of people express their opinions and views about things. Listen to them, take their advice, but always pursue what you really believe in, because nobody knows your capabilities better than yourself. Nobody knows what makes you happy better than yourself, because we're not always super transparent with others. And each one, even if I give you now an advice, it's coming from my own experience, which is very different from yours. But also, don't give up easily. There is one motto I read many years ago, and I always use it and I remember it. The difficult we do today, the impossible will take a little bit longer. And I just fell in love with that, and I'm still in love with that expression, that nothing is impossible. It just takes a little bit longer if you really want to do it. So I know you can go through a very difficult time. I promise you, I went through very challenging times, and I know I will go even through more challenging times in the future. But this does not make me give up on my dreams.
Do not give up on your dreams. You heard her, guys. Do not give up on your dreams. Nobody knows you like you. I love that. Nobody knows you like you. Amazing. I am super, super excited and grateful for this opportunity. Guys, you know how we say it on the show. This is the space where we come to lean on one another's experience to forge a positive path. And today, Dr. Carol Nakle has given us, I hope I tried with that name again, has given us
much better.
Yes, her own energy within the space that we can ride on, sailing into the future. Thank you so much. Well, time is not our friend. Each time we come on the show like this, when we are discussing something very juicy and interesting, but don't worry, we will come back again with something interesting. Thank you so much. Okay, till I come your way again. You know how we say it. Bye for now. Dr. Carol?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome time it has been with you on the World Cafe podcast today. Thank you for being there. You can catch me up on my social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, all at Amakri Isoboye. Also, you can get copies of my books, A Cocktail of Words, The Color of Words, my HRO notebook, and Hawker's Focus on God on Amazon and Roving Heights online bookstores. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at the same address at Amakri Isoboye. I love to hear from you and how this podcast has impacted you. You can leave me a message at my email address, amacrigaribaldi@gmail.com. That is AMACHREEGARIBALDI. Yes, till I come your way again. Bye for now.